Hello students, in today's session we will discuss about what is the electronic mail, and in the electronic mail what is the MIME, what is the SMTP, what is the POP3 and what is the IMAP. The electronic mail is an application layer protocol and it is the it is one of the most popular internet service in electronic mail, which is also called email. The designer of the internet probably never imagined the popularity of this application program, and its architecture is consist of several components which will be discussed in the next slides. And the topic which will cover in the slides are the architecture, the user agent and message transfer agent, which is SMTP, and message access agent, which are the POP and IMAP. At the beginning of the internet era, the message sent by electronic mail were short and consist only of the text messages. They let people exchange quick memos, and today's electronic mails is much more complex, and it allow a message which is include the text message, audio and video also. So it is also allows one message to send to one or more recipients. So first we will discuss what is the architecture which are provided by the electronic mails. And in the first scenario, uh, uh, the sender and the receiver of the email are users on the same systems, and they are directly connected to a shared system. So both the users are on the same system, and the administrator has created one mailbox for each user where the received messages are stored. So mailbox can be treated as an storage where the users mails are stored. A mailbox is a part of a local hard drive, a special file with permission restrictions. So one user cannot be able to access the another user's mailbox. So only the user of the mailbox can access its mailbox. So when ls a user need to send a message to the Bob, which is another user, so ls run a user agent. User agent is an program that prepare the message and store this program into the Bob's mailbox. So the message has the sender and the recipient mailbox addresses, and Bob can retrieve and read the content of his mailbox at his convenience using a user agent. So this is a similar to the traditional memo exchange between the employees in an office. There is a mail room where each employee has a mailbox with his or her name on it, and when ls needs to send a memo to a Bob, she writes the memo and insert it into the Bob's mailbox. So when Bob checks his mailbox, he finds the ls memo and read it. So this is the very basic architecture. So in this architecture, when the sender and the receiver of an email are on the same system and need two user agent for creating and reading the messages. In the second architecture, in the second scenario, the sender and the receiver of an emails are users on two different systems. In the first scenario, both the user and the sender are on the same system, whereas in the second scenario both are on the different system. The message need to send over the internet, and the user agent and the MTA, which is message transfer agent, are shown in this picture, and ls needs to use a user agent program to send her message to the system at her own site. So the system at her site uses a queue to store message which is waiting to be sent, and Bob also needs a user agent program to retrieve the message which is stored in the mailbox on of the system which is at his side. So the message needs to be sent through the internet from ls to the Bob side. So here, so two message transfer agents are needed. One is at the client side and one is at the server side. Or it can be treated as a scenario which is like client server programs on the internet. So the server needs to run all the time because it does not know when a client will ask for a connection, and the client on the other hand can be altered by the system when there is a message in the queue which needs to be sent. So when the sender and the receiver of an email are on different systems, then there is a need of two user agents, and a pair of message transfer agents are required at both the sides, which are client side and the server side. So here in this coming slides, UA is represent the user agent and MT is represent the message transfer agents. Next is the third scenario. In the third scenario, Bob is in the second scenario and is directly connected to his system, whereas ls is separated from her system, and ls is either connected to the system via point to point WAN, and that can be like dial up modem, DSL, or a cable modem, or she is connected to a LAN in an organization that uses one mail server for handling emails. So all the users need to send their messages to this mail server first. So whenever ls is sent to message, or whenever there is a message for the ls, then first the message is transferred to the mail server. So there is an intermediate between the ls and the Bob, which is the mail server. So ls still needs a user agent to prepare her message, and then she needs to send the message through the LAN or WAN. This can be done through a pair of message transfer agents that can be a client and server, and whenever ls has a message to send, she calls the user agent which calls the MTA client, and the MTA client establish a connection with the MTA server on the system, and which running all the times because the servers are running all the times. So the system at ls side queue all the messages received, and it then uses the MTA client to send the message to the system at the Bob site. So the system receives the messages and store it in the Bob's mailbox. At his convenience, Bob uses the user agent to retrieve the message and read the messages which are received from the other parties. So there are two pair of MTA client server programs are needed. So in this scenario, when the sender is connected to the mail server via LAN or WAN, when we need two user agents and two pair of MTA, which is on client and server side. Next is the fourth scenario. In the fourth scenario, this is the most common scenario and it is used in the emails, and Bob is also connected to his mail server by a WAN or a LAN. So both LS and Bobs are connected to the mail servers. So the mails are transferred between the mail servers. So Bob needs to retrieve the messages from the mail server as discussed in the previous slide, that LS use the mail server, same as in the fourth scenario. The Bob is also uses the mail server. So we need another set of client server agent which is called the message access agent. So Bob uses an message access agent client to retrieve his messages. The client sends a request to the message access agent which is running all the time and request the transfer to the message. So there are two important points. First, Bob cannot bypass the mail server and uses the MTA server directly, and to use the MTA server directly, Bob would need to run the MTA server all the time because he does not know when the messages will be arrive from the next person. So this implies that Bob must keep his computer all the time. If he is connected to his system through a LAN, if he is connected through a WAN, he must keep the connection up all the time. So neither of these situations are feasible in today's environment. So in the next scenario, the Bob needs another pair of client server program which is message access program, and there is because an MTA client server program is a push program, the client pushes the message to the server but needs a pull program. So the client needs to pull the message from the server, and this scenario is shown in this figure. So there is an push strategies applied at the client side and pull strategies applied at the recipient side. So when both sender and receiver are connected to the mail server via a LAN or WAN, then we need two user agent and two pair of MTAs and a pair of MAA, message access agents. So next, in the next slide, we will discuss what is the user agent actually do. The first component of an electronic mail system is the user agent. It provides the services to the users to make the process of sending and receiving a message easier. So the message access, the user agent having the 5 components, which are the composing message, reading the message, replying to the message, and forwarding to the message, and last one is the handling of the mailbox. All these components will be discussed one by one. So first one is the composition of message. A user agent help the user compose the email message to be sent out, and most of the user agents provide a template on the screen to be filled in by the users, and some of even have to build editor that can do spell checking, grammar checking, and other tasks expected from the sophisticated word processor. So this is the composition of the message over the for sending the mails. And second one is the reading message. The user agent is to read the incoming messages. When a user invoke user agent, it first check the mail in the incoming mailbox, and most of the user agents show a one-line summary of each received mail, which is shown in the today's mailboxes. And each email contains the following fields, which are the in which first is the number field, second one is the flag field. The flag field shows that the status of the mail, which is the new, already read but not replied to, or read and replied to. And third field is the size of the message, and fourth is the sender, and fifth is the operational subject fields. The third work of the user agent is to reply the messages. After reading a message, a user can use the user agent to reply a message. A user agent usually allows the user to reply to the original sent message, or to reply to all the recipient of the message directly. So the reply message may contains the original message as well as the new message, for the reference purpose. Next is the forwarding message. Reply is defined as sending a message to the sender or the recipient of the copy. Whereas in the case of forwarding, message is defined as sending the message to a third party. A user agent allows the receiver to forward the message which is received from the other person to the third person, so with or without extra comments to a third party. Next is the handling of mailbox. A user agent normally create two mailbox, one is the inbox and one is the outbox. And today's scenario there are others like important, primary, trash, etc. So each box, like inbox and outbox, in this each box is a file with a special format that can be handled by the user agent. The inbox keeps all the received email until they are deleted by the user, and the outbox keep all the sent email until the user deletes them. So this is all about the user agent. Now next are the user agent type. There are two types of the user agent. One is the command driven and second one is the GUI based. So in the command driven, user agent belongs to the early days of electronics mails. They are still presented as the underlying user agents in the servers. A command driven user agent normally accept one character command from a keyboard to perform its task. Like a user can type the character small r at the command prompt to reply to the sender of the message. So command driven user agents are mail, pine and lm. And next is the GUI based, which are used in the current scenarios. The modern user agents are GUI based. They contains the graphical user interface components that allow the user to interact with the software by using both the keywords and the mouse. They have graphical components such as icon, menu, bars and windows that makes the services easy to access. An example of this is the Microsoft Outlook and Netscape. So these are the GUI based agents. Next is the scenario of the sending mail. To send a mail, the user through the user agent create the mail that looks like very similar to the postal mails, and the mails is consist of two parts. One is the envelope part and second is the message part. And message part is further consists of two parts. One is the body part and first one is the header part and second one is the body part. So the envelope usually contains the sender and the receiver address, and the message contains the header and the body part. So the header of the message defines the sender and the receiver, the subject of the message and the other information which needs to be sent, and the body of the message contains the actual information which to be read by the recipient. So the receiving mail, this is the pictorial diagram of the email, how the email contents are represented. Next is the uh, uh, receiving mail. The user agent is triggered by the user. If a user has an email, the user agent inform the user with the notice. If the user is ready to read an email, a list is displayed in which each line contains a summary of the information about a particular mail which is received from the different persons or the same person, and the summary usually includes the sender mail address, the subjects and the time of the mails which was sent and received. So each of the mail having the address portion, and the address portion is consist of two parts. One is the local part and second one is the domain name. So to deliver mail, a mail handling system must use an addressing system with unique address. In the internet, the address is consist of two part. One is the local part and second is the domain name, which are separated by the @ sign. The local part is defined as the name of a special file or called the user mailbox, where all the mail received from for a user is stored, and for retrieval of the messages are from the access agents. So and next is the domain name. The second part of the address is the domain name. An organization usually select one or more hosts to receive and send emails. The hosts are sometimes called mail server or exchanger. The domain name assigned to each mail exchanger either come from the DNS database or is a local name. So this is the domain name. Next is the MIME. What is the MIME? MIME is a multi-purpose internet mail extension. So electronic mails has a very simple structure. Its simplicity is, however, come with the price, and it can send message only in the NVT 7-bit ASCII format, and the multi-purpose internet mail extension which is the MIME is a supplementary protocol that allow non-ASCII data to be sent through the emails. So earlier only text messages are sent via the user agents, and now with the help of the MIME, the photos, audios also can be sent via the emails. So MIME is help to do this, and MIME transfers non-ASCII data at the sender side to the NVT ASCII data and deliver them to the client MTA to to be sent through the internet. So the message at the receiving side is transferred back to the original data. So MIME is a set of software functions that transfer non-ASCII data to the ASCII data and vice versa. So this is the pictorial representation of how MIME actually transfer the non-ASCII code to the ASCII code, and the actual ASCII code is transferred over the internet, and at the recipient side the ASCII code is transferred to the non-ASCII code, and which is shown to the user end. The MIME defines five headers that can be added to the original email header sections, and which are the MIME version number, content type, content transfer encoding, content ID, and content description. So this is how the MIME header is formed. So in this diagram, the MIME version is 1.1. Content type is the type or subtype. This header defines the type of the data used in the body of the message. The content type and the content subtype are separated by a slash. So when we use both, then we first define the type and then we define the subtype of the content, and depending on the subtype the header may contains other parameters. Okay. The types can be text, multipart, message, image, video, audio, application. Like in the case of the text type, the subtypes can be plain text or HTML text. Like if you use the image, then the subtypes can be JPG, GIF. If we use the multiparts, then the subtypes can be mixed, parallel, digest, alternative, etc. So next is the content transfer encoding. This header defines the method used to encode the message into the 0 and 1 for the transport. And next is the content ID. The header uniquely identify the whole message in a multiple message environment, so it assigns the content ID. So next is the content description. This header defines whether the body is an image, audio, or video actually. So next, these are the content transfer encoding schemes which are used, like the user agent or the mails can be created with non-ASCII codes, and that can be converted into non-ASCII is created with the non-ASCII code and it is converted to the ASCII code, and there are different types are used, like 7-bit, 8-bit, binary, base 64, quantitative printable. In the case of 7-bit, then it is the NVT ASCII character and short line character form. If it's used, the email is used the 8-bit, then it is an non-ASCII character and short line. If it's used the binary, then it is the non-ASCII character with unlimited length lines. If it use the base 64 type, then it use the 6-bit blocks of data encoded into 8-bit ASCII character, and if it's use the quoted printable, then it is the non-ASCII character encoded as an equal sign followed by an ASCII code. So this is all about the MIME. Next is the message transfer agent. The message transfer agents in the internet is the SMTP, and it is responsible for transferring the message from the user side to the mail server, and from mail server to the recipient mail server. So the actual mail transfer is done through the message transfer agent, and to send a mail, a system must have the client MTA message transfer agent, and to receive a mail, a system must have their own server MTA, which is the server side message transfer agent. So the formal protocol that defines the empty client and server in the internet is called the simple mail transfer protocol. So the entire scenario is called the SMTP simple mail transfer protocol. And in this scenario we have the two pair of MTA, which is at the client side and the server side, and programs are used in the most common situations, which we have discussed in the fourth scenario, where both the sender and the recipient having the mail server, and these mail servers are connected by the internet. So SMTP is used two times between the sender and the sender mail server, and between the mail servers, which are the sender mail server and the recipient mail server. So SMTP simply define how commands and response must be sent back and forth. So each network is free to choose a software package for the implementation. So next, this is the how command and response scenario is used in the SMTP. So SMTP uses command and response to transfer message between MTA client and MTA server. So MTA client sends the commands to the MTA server, and MTA server is respond to the command to the MTA client. So each command or reply is terminated by two characters with the end of line token. So the command are sent from the client to the server side, and the format of the command is like keyword colon argument s. So it is consist of the keyword followed by 0 or more argument. SMTP defined 14 commands. So 14 commands can be one or more commands can be used, and there are total 14 commands are available in the SMTP scenario. The first 5 are mandatory commands, and every implementation must support these 5 commands. The next 3 are often used and highly recommended, and the last 6 are seldom rarely used commands. So these commands are the hello command, hello keyword, mail from recipient, receipt to, data, quit, reset, verify, no turn, expn, help, send from, smol from, smal from. So hello is sender host name, mail from sender of the message, receipt to intended receipt of the message, and like data, body of the mail, etc. So in the case of the response, the responses are sent from the server to the client, and a response is a 3-digit code that may be followed by an additional textual information, and the code of the responses are like positive completion reply, like 211, which means system status, or help reply if the code is 214, then this is the help message, and if the code is 220, then this is the service ready. If the code is 221, then it is the service closing transmission channel. If the code is 250, then it is the request command completed, and if the code is 251, then it is user not local, the message will be forwarded. Next is the positive intermediate reply, which is the 354, that means start the mail input. Next is the transient negative completion reply if the code is the 421, which means service not available. sometimes we refresh the page, then it shows 421 error. That means service is not available. If the error is the 450, then mailbox not available. If the sometimes uh, uh, we may send the emails to the recipient, and that mail id may not be exist, or the recipient may not be able to receive the message. Then some of the errors uh, uh, are shown on our mailbox, and some of you may are familiar with these responses. So these are the responses, and the responses are divided into the different categories. Like in this diagram, we seen that there are the permanent negative completion reply, in which 500 means the syntax error, 501 means the syntax error in the parameters or arguments, 502 means command not implemented, etc. So we have to take an example here. Let us see how we can directly use SMTPs to send an email and simulate the commands and response we described in the previous section. So in this uh, example, we see how these that we have read are worked in the original mail sending and responses scenarios. So we use the telnet to log in into port 25, and then we use the command directly to send an email. So in this example, the mail id is 4000 at the rate adlifia.net is sending an email to himself. The first few lines shows telnet try to connect into the Adelphia mail server. So after connection, we can type the SMTP commands and then receive the responses, which will be shown in the next slide. So we have shown the commands in the blank and the responses in the colored, and we can have added the clarification how, like, some command lines designed by the equal sign, and these lines are not part of the email procedure. So like first we have to establish the telnet connection with the adelphia.net and try to connect with their mail server, and there is the connection establishment scenario, and we receive the black line is there, and that means this is the command is sent to the uh, SMTP server, and this is the mail transfer scenario. There is the command 250 is used. 250 means request command complete, and it is an response mail from the uh, the forensic Adelphia forensic at the rate adelphia.net server, and the receipt to data is there, and from to, and the body is there. So this is the complete uh, mail scenario. Next, this is the connection terminate. If we want to terminate the connection, then we use the quit, and for the quit we use the service closing channel, that is the command is the 221. So the connection is closed after the sending and recipient of the mail. So next we'll discuss about the message access agent. So when the message mail is received at the server side mailbox server, then how the message is accessed from the recipient mail server to the recipient system. So this scenario is considered under the POP3 and MIPA4. So the first and the second stage of the mail delivery uses the SMTP, as it is also shown in this figure. However, SMTP is not involved in the third stage because SMTP is a push protocol. It is not having the pull properties. So the message is pushed from the client side to the mail server to the client mail server, and then message is pushed from the client mail server to the recipient mail server. After this, it is the responsibility of the another protocol which can transfer the message from the server recipient mail server to the recipient mail recipient system. So for this, they use the POP and IMAP protocols. So it in the case of SMTP, it pushes the message from the client to the server, or the direction of the bulk data is from the client to the server, or we can say that the third stage needs the pull protocols and the client must pull message from the server. So the direction of the bulk data is from the server to the client side, and the third stage uses a message access agent, and currently two message access protocols are available. One is the post office protocol version 3, and second is the internet mail access protocol version 4. So this is both these protocols are mentioned in the figure, and we can easily understand how they work. So in the case of POP3, POP3 post office protocol version 3, it is an simple and limited in functionality. The client POP3 software is installed on the recipient computer. The server POP3 software is installed on the mail server. The mail access starts with the client when the user needs to download email from the mailbox on the mail server. The client open a connection to the server on TCP port 110, and it then sends the username and password to access the mailbox. The user can then the list and retrieve the mail messages one by one. So and also the POP3 has two modes in which it works: the delete mode and the keep mode. In the delete mode, the mail is deleted from the mailbox after each retrieval. In the keep mode, the mail remains in the mailbox after the retrieval. So the delete mode is normally used when the user is working at her permanent computer and can save and organize the received mails after the reading or reply. And the keep mode is normally used when the user accesses her mail away from her primary computer, and the mail is read but it keeps in the system for later retrieval and organizations. This is the POP3. And in the case of IMAP, which is the Internet Mail Access Protocol version 4, it is more about the similar to the POP3, and but it is having the more features than the POP3, and IMAP is more powerful and complex in nature, and POP3 is having deficiency in several ways. It does not allow the user to organize her mails on the server. The user cannot have different folders on the servers. In addition, POP3 does not allow the user to partially check the contents of the mail before the downloading. So over these POP3, IMAP4 version 4 provides the some extra functionalities to the mails and the functionalities are the a user can check the email header prior to download. A user can search the content of the mail for a specific string of the character prior to the downloading. A user can partially download the email. This is specifically used if bandwidth is limited and the email contain multimedia with high bandwidth requirements. And next is the a user can create, delete, terminate, delete, rename mailboxes on the mail servers, and a user can create a hierarchy of mailboxes in a folder for email storage. So this the in the current mail scenarios, we see how the internet mail access protocol is actually work, and the features are provided in the current mails are treated as the internet mail access protocol kind of features are in the mails. And this is how the commands and responses are exchanged in the POP3 scenario. There are two mails. There are POP3 and IMPs work between the recipient mail server and the Bob's computer. So first, when the Bob is active, Bob is send a command username to the mail server, then mail server reply with the OK. Then the after the username, the Bob is send their password to the mail server, the mail server is send OK. Then Bob is sent the list to the mail server, and the emails numbers and their size is sent to the Bob's computer. And Bob now sending the start the retrieving of the mails, and it reads the mails which is received from the mail server. So this is how the POP3s work, and the commands are sent and received between the POP3 mail server and the Bob computer. So this is all about the how IMIE is work, SMTP is work, and POP3 and IMAP's work, and how they work for the electronic mailing system. And in the next this is how basic scenario of the electronic mails. And in the next session, we will discuss the next another application layer protocol. And thank you.